Now Politically Georgia from the AJC.com is a jolt of news and analysis from the AJC Politics team, compiled by Greg Bluestein, Tia Mitchell, Patricia Murphy, and Adam Beam. Former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan's Democratic bid for governor ended in a distant fourth-place finish, roughly 50 percentage points behind nominee former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, but the former Republican says he has no regrets. President Donald Trump mocked the former Republican on social media following the primary loss Tuesday. He's now failed in 2 parties, Trump wrote. This guy was a loser from the first day I met him, and now we can call that official. Duncan fired back. Oddly enough, Trump, losing by 50% still feels better than supporting you. Doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. Organizer and voting rights activist Bentley Hudgens could be on their way to becoming the first Japanese American and first openly non-binary and transgender person elected to the Georgia General Assembly. Hudgens, who uses they-them pronouns, jumped into the open primary race for Georgia House District 90 after former state representative Sarah Draper opted to run for the state Senate. Hudgens won the Democratic primary Tuesday in the heavily left-leaning DeKalb County District. They'll be the favorite against Republican Samantha Boston in November. If elected, Hudgens would join the GOP-controlled legislature after years of Republican-led efforts to restrict gender-affirming care for transgender adults and children. Republicans have spent millions of dollars, election season after election season, demonizing us, Hudgens told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They've introduced dozens of bills, session after session, trying to strip people like me and people like my friends and my family of our dignity and human rights. If they're going to talk about LGBTQ plus community and they're going to attack us at every turn, we might as well be at the table, they said. Bella Bautista, a transgender woman who's also running for House District 14, a GOP-leaning district held by Republican State Representative Mitchell Scoggins. Get ready for a debate over debates in the GOP race for governor. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones kicked off the runoff cycle by challenging billionaire Rick Jackson to meet him on stage. Jones said he accepted an Atlanta Press Club debate for June 1st, and that he hopes Jackson doesn't continue to hide from his record. Jackson's camp soon agreed to a debate of its own, but on his own terms, a June 14th showdown on Gray TV just 2 days before the runoff. Jackson said it would celebrate Flag Day and the president's birthday. That timing quickly became part of the fight. Early voting will already be over by then, meaning many Georgians will have cast their ballots before seeing the debate. Jones aides said they offered several earlier dates that Jackson hasn't yet accepted. Democrats, meanwhile, poke fun at the Trump birthday line. Jackson cares more about celebrating Trump's birthday than letting Georgians know where he stands on the issues. Democratic Party spokesperson Jake Strickland said, "Talk about a bootlicker." A record number of Democratic Socialist candidates ran for state, house, and other offices in Georgia this year, but the results were decidedly mixed for the far-left candidates once the votes were counted on primary night. Representative Stacey Evans, a Democrat of Atlanta, trounced her Democratic Socialist challenger, Jeremiah Olney, 85% to 15% in House District 57, while State Representative Esther Panich, a Democrat of Sandy Springs, held off her Democratic Socialist of America challenger, Aaron Baker, 57% to 43% in House District 51. In a statement on election night, Panich said voters chose experience over slogans, results over rhetoric, and substance over stunts. It was better news for the Democratic Socialist of America in the race to succeed outgoing State Representative Park Cannon, where DSA-endorsed Matthias Samson advanced to a runoff against Demetria Henderson. Samson got 29% of the vote compared with Henderson's 39%. The first Democratic Socialist to join the General Assembly, State Representative Gabriel Sanchez, easily won his primary 82% to 18% over Carlos Villela in House District 42, while Democratic Socialist Kendra Clark fell short in the race to succeed State Representative Edna Jackson in House District 165 with 35% of the vote. Beyond legislative races, DSA-endorsed Tim Denson also advanced to a runoff in the Athens-Clarke County mayor's race after Denson finished with 38% of the vote on election night. He will face Dexter Fisher, who won 27% of the vote. The winner between Denson and Fisher will succeed outgoing Mayor Kelly Gertz. Former U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is predicting that whoever wins the Republican runoff for governor will defeat Democratic nominee Keisha Lance Bottoms, but she sounds far less confident about the race for U.S. Senate. I've yet to see a poll where any Republican candidate edges out Jon Ossoff, she told CBS News. He's an incumbent, and incumbents have tremendous power in re-elections, so I'm not sure how the chances are there. U.S. Representative Mike Collins and former football coach Derek Dooley are battling for the GOP nomination to take on Ossoff, who enters the general election campaign with a unified base and a massive fundraising edge. Fair Fight PAC, the political organization founded by Stacey Abrams, rolled out a slate of Democratic endorsements this week, while warning that Georgia faces mounting threats to voting rights and election administration ahead of the 2026 cycle. The endorsements include Josh McLaurin for Lieutenant Governor, Dana Barrett for Secretary of State, DeAndre Mathis for Insurance Commissioner, and Mo Ivory for Fulton County Commission Chair. And that's Politically Georgia, a jolt of news and analysis from the AJC Politics team. The information's compiled by Greg Bluestein, Tia Mitchell, Patricia Murphy, and Adam Beam. Now, an opinion column by the AJC senior political columnist Patricia Murphy. Its headline, Bottoms and Ossoff plan campaign as partners at top of Democratic ticket. Shortly after Keisha Lance Bottoms secured the Democratic nomination for Georgia governor Tuesday night, U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff called her with enthusiastic congratulations on her victory. That same night, Ossoff posted a note to social media intentionally positive and complimentary. After a note about GOP infighting, Ossoff projected Democratic unity and optimism about the general election ahead with Bottoms joining him at the top of the ticket. Keisha's powerful campaign mobilized voters statewide, and together we are building a massive and unstoppable winning coalition to deliver decisive victory statewide up and down the ballot in November. The message from Ossoff, both internally and externally, was that he will stand beside Bottoms as they both campaign as their party's standard bearers for the next 5 months. Bottoms and her team feel the same way. Keisha is excited to partner with Senator Ossoff to lead the ticket to victory in November. Tanisha Cameron, Keisha for Governor campaign spokesperson, said, "It is clear that voters want leaders who will put people first, and that's exactly what Keisha and Senator Ossoff will do." Whether and how Ossoff and Bottoms would work in tandem in the months ahead quickly became an open question after Democrats' experience in 2022. Although Stacey Abrams and U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock were longtime friends and in agreement on most policy matters, the two were not the same dynamic duo in 2022 that Warnock and Ossoff became during their simultaneous 2020 Senate campaigns. During their runoffs, Ossoff and Warnock campaigned together so much it was like watching a buddy cop movie. Standing side by side on campaign rally stages, they called each other "my brother," while their staffs handed out co-branded campaign signs. Voters responded, especially Georgia's all-important black electorate, and lifted them both to victory. But by 2022, Warnock and Abrams, the two-time Democratic nominee for governor, ran separate campaigns with significantly different strategies. While Abrams ran an aggressive rematch against Governor Brian Kemp and embraced the weakening President Joe Biden, Warnock portrayed his Senate record as bipartisan and worked to appeal to independent and moderate crossover voters. The two campaigned together so infrequently in 2022 that a joint stop in late August at a Marietta Park made news just because Warnock and Abrams both attended. 4 years and another President Donald Trump victory later, Bottoms and Ossoff are now the top of their party's ticket and, at least for now, planning to be partners in the fight. While Republicans head to runoff elections in both the U.S. Senate and governor races, Senator Ossoff remains laser-focused on building the largest and most unstoppable winning coalition in the state's history to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, Ossoff's campaign spokeswoman Ellie Dougherty said, including enthusiastically working to elect Keisha Lance Bottoms to be the first black woman governor in the country. The upsides for both are clear. If Bottoms' dominant showing Tuesday made one thing clear for Democrats, is that black women continue to be the party's most loyal voters and most successful candidates. Ossoff's intentional focus on working to make Bottoms the first black woman governor in the country, just like he embraced Warnock's history-making candidacy in 2020, put him on the side of the women he needs to show up for him in November again. Bottoms stands to gain from a partnership with Ossoff, too, although national pundits routinely refer to the freshman as the most vulnerable Democrat in the country. GOP operatives in Georgia know the reality that Ossoff has proven to be a savvy campaigner and fundraising juggernaut. His rat-a-tat cadence at campaign rallies has made him a viral star. Bottoms' team knows that joining with the incumbent senator would only add to her proven strength with statewide Democratic voters, while she continues to try to win over, or at least neutralize, skeptics from her tumultuous time as Atlanta's mayor. The united front from Democrats is a stark contrast to what Republicans will deal with for the next 4 weeks, with Rick Jackson and Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones locked in a messy, expensive runoff for governor, and Derek Dooley and U.S. Representative Mike Collins slugging it out for the GOP nomination to challenge Ossoff. Should Trump endorse Collins over Kemp's pick of Dooley in the coming weeks, expect the divisions to last well past June. There is no way to know if the kumbaya among Democrats will last, since the party has notoriously found ways to lose otherwise winnable elections. Republicans believe Bottoms' outright victory Tuesday night is the best thing that happened to their own chances to hold on to the governor's mansion, and neither Bottoms nor Ossoff would likely stay locked in a joint campaign if the other has crashing poll numbers or an unexpected scandal. But for now, as Ossoff and Bottoms look ahead to November as the faces of the Democratic Party for 2026, they're looking forward together. Written by AJC senior political columnist Patricia Murphy, the opinion piece is headlined, Bottoms and Ossoff plan campaign as partners at top of Democratic ticket. Now retired AJC columnist Bill Torpey writes an opinion piece, 3 savage attacks and a disturbed suspect make random crime hit home. Not all crimes are created equal. It's rare when a law-abiding citizen who's minding their own business in a very public place is viciously attacked out of the blue by a stranger. When it does happen, in the case of a woman stabbed to death on the Atlanta Beltline this month and in 2 previous cases involving a postal employee badly beaten outside work and another woman on MARTA, the public is rightfully disturbed because they can see themselves as potential victims. That could have been me. The fear is not a calculus based on mathematical probability, but it doesn't matter because that worry is a deep-seated primitive emotion in the gut, and however remote it becomes real. It's like a bizarre reverse lottery. People play the lotto in hope of hitting it big. They're buoyed by optimism when they hear of a stranger coming into untold riches. Similarly, when something horrific hits home, they can place themselves in that nightmare. Such is the case of Jamar Brown, a 21-year-old homeless man accused of stabbing to death Alyssa Page, a 23-year-old woman walking on the Beltline near Ansley Golf Club. Minutes earlier and a half-mile away, he allegedly smashed the head of a female postal worker with a rock outside her place of work. She survived. Then he escaped on a bike and was later captured near the Fox Theater. For more than a year, Brown has been a ticking time bomb, haunting Atlanta's institutions and popular gathering places, Georgia State University, MARTA, and allegedly outside a Northeast Atlanta post office and on the Beltline. He was riding his bike around the Georgia Tech campus the day before the killing, police said, presumably because he'd been banned from Georgia State and MARTA. Last year, he was arrested by GSU police and charged with loitering and disorderly conduct. A report said he acted in a violent or tumultuous manner, placing people in a reasonable fear of life, limb, or health. Basically, he was one of many mentally disturbed people wandering downtown Atlanta. Most are harmless, a few are not. In January, he allegedly cold-cocked a young woman as she stepped off a MARTA train at the Peachtree Center station. The punch knocked her to the platform, and then, according to police, he battered her on the concrete floor. She bled profusely, 25 stitches, and could not see from her right eye. Brown, a small man standing 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing 135 pounds, was soon captured near Centennial Olympic Park. He was charged with misdemeanor battery. Mind you, this was a man pounding a random woman senseless at rush hour at a train station, but it was deemed a misdemeanor. The beating was so bad that Fulton County jailers would not initially take Brown because his hand was so swollen. One can wonder if this played into his later alleged tactics, when a rock and knife, not fist, were used as weapons. Barely 2 weeks after the MARTA attack, Brown pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 120 days in jail, but he served only 60 and was back on the streets in late March. Brown, getting released just 2 months after such a brutal attack, is an example of a case that slipped between MARTA Police and the Fulton County Solicitor's Office. MARTA Police Chief Scott Crerar said the case was initially deemed a misdemeanor because police did not have medical reports to determine the extent of the victim's injuries. He said detectives spoke with her at the hospital that night and contacted her the next day. The initial report had a wrong phone number for the victim, he said, but it was later corrected. He added, "They had our number, we had theirs." Crerar said the woman's father called police in mid-February to see what was going on with the case, and detectives were given the victim's medical reports. She had a broken nose and a fractured orbital bone. Police went to a judge to upgrade to felony charges, he said, but found the case had already been pleaded out. Fulton Solicitor General Keith Gamage said, "We received a misdemeanor battery charge and crafted a plea deal with the information we had." He added that a sentence of 120 days in a tough jail, along with a mental health evaluation, seemed like a fair and balanced resolution for a defendant with no other violent history. Gamage said his prosecutors could not reach the victim to discuss the case, although 2 TV stations in the AJC did. He said prosecutors sometimes reach out to police officers in their cases, but normally don't. Some of these cases move pretty expeditiously, he said. It's a fast-paced, under-resourced metro system. It's a well-told story about Fulton's justice system, overworked cops and prosecutors, loads of cases coming before judges, a dangerous and crowded jail bursting at the seams. Cases often don't get a second look. These cases are not only the greatest fears of a community, but also the fear of judges and prosecutors that something will get missed, Gamage said. And they do, like here. GSU professor Volkan Topali, who studies crime and crime reduction, had seen Brown around campus randomly yelling at people. The prof is not a lock-em-up guy, but said, in Brown's case, the random brutality of the MARTA attack should have been a trigger to the justice system. Charging the crime as a misdemeanor was insane, he said. That's a perfect example. There should have been incapacitation, Topali said, whether it be a longer jail sentence or mental health treatment while being confined. However, as the MARTA chief, the solicitor, and the professor all told me, there's lots of talk about needing more mental health treatment and not much action. And so cases like this freak out the public. Topali's wife, he says, knows she is not really a great risk walking the nearby Beltline. Still, she worries now. It has to do with a victim who people connect to their own identity coupled with a familiar sense of place, he said. In Atlanta, the Beltline is a sacred, safe place. It should be safe because it's important to the city, but sometimes it's neither safe nor sacred. The opinion piece is written by Bill Torpy, a retired columnist for the AJC. Headline, 3 savage attacks and a disturbed suspect make random crime hit home. That's all the time we have for the first part of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I'm Merritt Coward. You're listening to the Georgia Radio Reading Service on Vocal Point. We'll be back after a short break.
Speech on. Selected. Screen recording.